name is Jeremiah Pastor, and my partner's name is John Ruelle. And in this presentation, the short presentation, we will be discussing the steps we took in being able to properly spread awareness on the Sapporo virus or the Sapporo virus. These steps include the initial gathering of the information, the setup of the brochure, and the method we chose to be able to spread the information, and why we chose that specific method. So for gathering of the information, what sources did we use? For general information about the virus, we utilize the Diagnostic Microbiology textbook by Bailey and Scotts, because remember, Sapporo virus comes from the family Caliciviridae. So before diving into the Sapporo virus directly, we wanted to make sure we took a look at the general characteristics of the family. And some of the characteristics that many of this family share is when an individual becomes infected with the virus, some of the characteristics that they may show is vomiting, nausea, diarrhea, and gastroenteritis, which is usually that is one of the main characteristics of this family, and is usually taken through the fecal oral route, right? So ingesting feces through the mouth. And some of the other viruses in this family include the norovirus, which is the more well-known virus that is in this family. And then another lesser known virus would be hepatitis E, right? So to get more specific for the Sapporo virus, we looked at some research papers online and found this one written by Tomoichiro Oka, Kihong Wang, and Kazuhiko Katayama. And their study was called the Comprehensive Review of the Human Sapporo Virus, right? And this article is a great introduction to the virus and gets very detailed as you progress into the study. One of the examples is that, like for a small fact, one of the facts known about this virus is that it was actually first originally seen in the United Kingdom in 1976, but we did not see an actual outbreak or a major outbreak in 1982 until 1982 in Japan. And as the name suggests, it was specifically Sapporo, Japan, right? And this is how the virus obtained its name. So for the brochure, we're going to take a brief look at the contents of the brochure. We had the virus morphology, the occurrence, the diseases associated with the virus, the lab diagnosis, and how to diagnose, the lab diagnosis, yes, how to diagnose it, and then the prevention and control. So the Sapporo virus has a very distinct characteristic of the Star of David appearance or shape under the microscope, right? Again, the diseases associated with the Sapporo virus is mainly the acute gastroenteritis, and the main way that the virus is routinely found is through reverse transcriptase PCR, right? And so the Sapporo virus has many variations in terms of its antigens, and the most efficient way of tracking these antigens is through RT-PCR or reverse transcriptase PCR, right? And this is the reason why it is routine is because of the fact that it is able to track all of them compared to other methods. So for treatment and prevention, there is no major vaccine that is available. So general hygiene is extremely important. Examples would be washing hands, especially when handling food, and to try and decontaminate surfaces. So for those who are infected, proper quarantine measures should be taken into account, and constant rehydration for those affected is important because remember, acute gastroenteritis, vomiting, diarrhea, all of these involve the possible loss of fluids for the individual, so constant rehydration is what we want to do to try and preserve the well-being of the patient.
Hi, good day. I'll be talking to you all the process on how we made our brochure, how we plan to deploy it, and the feedback of our brochure. We chose Photoshop as an application for editing and making our brochure. It's an intuitive app and is easy to manipulate. So why did you choose this design? The front design showcases Sapporo City, where the Sapporo virus initially originated. It also has our morphology and epidemiology of the said virus. It also has the credits. And at the back page, it emphasizes on the virulence, how the virus is transmitted, and how to prevent from getting the virus. And the back part also showcases Japan's or Sapporo City's white snow peaks. It also has an electron microscopy of the said virus, the Sapporo virus, which has a Star of David appearance under the electron microscope. We also chose Facebook to deploy our brochure. It has a wider range compared to most social media sites. And most or a majority of Filipinos are currently using Facebook as a means of communication, information, and news. So that's why we chose Facebook. So we can reach more people at the same time. We also chose Twitter because most of the teens are currently using Twitter as a means of chica and as a means of communicating also. More and more Filipinos are now using Twitter. So that's why we also deployed our brochure on Twitter. I'll be also showing you feedback on our brochure on both platforms from Twitter and on Facebook. So the feedback. We use Google Forms to collect our audience's feedback with what is the mode of transmission? 8 answered fecal oral route. How can you prevent yourself from becoming infected with Sapporo virus or Sapovirus? 8 of them answered practice proper hygiene. What is the appearance of the surface of the virion? Star of David. And 8 answered. All are correct. Did you find the information insightful or helpful in any way? They said yes. And what is a symptom of the Sapporo virus? 8 answered AOTA or all of the above, which all of them had correct answers. And last but not least, for our Google Forms feedback questionnaire, is there anything we could have improved on in our brochure? 7 responded with none. None. It's amazing. It's perfect. None. It is already very presentable and has a good layout and content. Nothing. Everything's perfect. Chef's kiss. And none. This makes us happy that we receive positive feedback from our audience as well. And one more thing. We went the extra step and distributed our brochures to Barangay Makugihon in Hunog, Dumaguete City. This one read our brochure in her house. Note that social distancing was always observed during the distribution of the brochure. And also this pregnant woman with her eldest son, with her holding the brochure of the Sapporo virus, because she wanted to know how the Sapporo virus was treated or how it is transmitted from person to person in Sapporo City.